Hello, everybody. I think I'm just about ready to get started. Let's shout a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the Sea of Stars soundtrack. I'll save that for actual Sea of Stars. Let's go listen to something more presumably edgy with the Dynasty Warriors, Berserk, and the Band of the Hawk. Yeah, it's about what I expected. Welcome, Retract. Hope you're doing well. We'll be playing PSO, where, honestly, I don't know how much I'll be participating in Rare Enemy Week due to boycotts. I might unintentionally do stuff that's Rare Enemy Week related. But once we get some more people in, I think we'll go ahead and start story time. We do have a story to tell regarding D&D. We'll do some little warm-ups as people trickle in. Hope you've been doing well, Retract. You okay there, Ephinea? Do you want to boot up? I know you recently just had an update, but the first step of playing Ephinea is to not get a black screen. I guess I'll close it. Off to a great start. Oh! Wow, that was... Now it's not responding, and it crashed. Thank you, Ephinea. Welcome, Akra Artem. Hope you're doing well. Doing good. Spent today prepping for a couple of interviews I'm leading next week. Nice, nice. So you get a job. That is... we're looking for. Uh-oh, chat. What happened to Ephinea? Why is it doing this? Has anybody else experienced this since the update they did last week? What is this? Why am I black screening every time I boot up Ephinea? Oh, we're hiring. Oh, okay. Oh boy, chat. Like, nothing has changed on my setup, so I don't know what's happening. The only thing that happened was it downloaded something just before I started stream. Oh my gosh, what was that? Like a 40-second boot? Yeah, that's going on a forum complaint, right? Like... I can't be the only one that has been having that issue just now. Also, it's not taking my controller inputs? Excuse me? Oh, chat, we're off to some interesting issues to start the stream. You can hear me pressing the button and nothing is happening. Did they host something with the setup? I'm telling you right now, I have not touched PSO since we last played. So it's not like it's like, oh, I did this experimental so-and-so, but like it's clearly lagging and not working. Did they accidentally break something? I'm gonna try one more time, because I can't play PSO without a controller. I'll even unplug my controller, replug, even though it's working. This is very concerning, chat. I should not have to test Ephinea every single time I want to stream this, given I stream it weekly. Yeah, I have not seen this before. Look at this. What is this? Chat, if it took this long to boot up in between, I would not play Ephinea. Like, look at this. You're all bearing witness. This is me booting up the game, where I have fast skip. AKA it should go. It should be like I should be in the menu right now. Well, I might have to cancel today's stream if it's gonna be like this. I could try to restart my whole computer, but this is a massive problem. What did they do? I mean, we can count in whole seconds how long that boot up was, right? Like that's pretty outrageous. Okay, it's at least registering the controller. Maybe I can make this work. Holy. Almost became canceled D&D story time. We're keeping that in the VOD. I want everybody to witness that. That was outrageous. Like, I don't know if it's because they're trying to, like, assemble the character banks and it's just not efficient, right? Because you can see you can select every character in one shot now. But I wonder if because I have so many characters, it just lags out the game. Like, genuinely, if it's gonna load like that every time, I'd rather not have this feature. If it takes 30 seconds to load, I'm telling you, it is faster for me to quit, switch banks, reload, than it is to sit through that. That was outrageous. Holy, note to self, under no circumstance close PSO. It's never gonna open again. Oh my gosh, anyway. Let me know, chat, if you've experienced that with the new patch. That was certainly something. Oh, Retract is there. Hello, Retract. I guess we'll start off with some very hard mode. Until we get some people in. How close am I to lame to Argent? I have to be under 1,000, right? Oh, whatever. Chat, whatever. 8999. I felt like that was despite myself. How am I so close? So close. Anyway, let's do some resets. Actually, we got 2 people. I guess I could just do normal CCC or something for now. Some Jaya in here. Anybody that wants to level with me as we talk, by all means. You know what? I'm not even gonna put a password. That's how much I don't care. Also, by the way, one change I've been talking about, and chat knows I've talked about this on stream before. They finally added rare enemy to the party info. Chat can go check the tapes, quote unquote. I've been saying this for years that should have been added there. It is, and I said especially it didn't make sense because they changed the materials. That was one of the last times I brought it up, and I'm glad they did finally update that. Yeah, like before I thought it was more of a technical limitation, so I didn't think about it like that, but then they changed materials. I'm like, oh, they could have done this the whole time. It's like, it's not a question of if. Welcome to Parameter. So anyway, we'll begin story time momentarily. We had a bug freak out in the beginning, but I think we're good now. Yeah, we'll wait 3 more minutes, I think. Then it is 7:30, which is when I said it would normally start. If anybody just wants to get in for a quick ride through very hard mode, get hard carried, by all means. I want to get to 10,000 kills on Lame to Argent. I'm very, very close. Yeah, this one is 50% dark, so it's pretty good. So if I don't see anybody, we'll resume quest. And then I guess I'll start us off with D&D stories. No worries in Parameter. Hopefully you enjoy your dinner. I did the thing again where I started going to VR for Cal's Clock Challenge. Chat, I can't not go there. This should be a VR quest. It shouldn't be extermination. Anything that goes to Temple should be VR automatically. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I mean, it is literally VR. Anyway, now that we're settling in, I can think and concentrate more on the story than it is playing PSO. So, preface. D&D story time. So, for those that have not heard D&D story time before, we last left off in a very awkward scenario where we essentially had multiple dream sequences that were probably better suited for roleplay, not while everybody was together. And we had very limited interaction in the game leading into a partial start of combat before it paused. So, how did this session start? Well, I don't think that... Well, no. Let's go and... That's the preface. I'm sorry. We're skipping ahead of this in the story a little bit. So, one big thing that's been coming up in the plot so far that is actually relevant to talk about is the fact that there is, like, this essentially, literally godchild in the story. And I think I spent at least a good 40 minutes contemplating how to kill off this NPC. Because listen, chat. The thing is supposed to be, like, the spawn of, like, 2 demon gods, question mark. So I'm like, this is clearly an evil child. And he's also killed stuff before, so it's not like it's just automatic assumption. Like, he's doing horror movie stuff, like in the previous session. So, I'll tell chat what my idea was, and then we'll see how that actually turned out in a moment in the game itself. But my original thought process was, I know that the kid is able to kill things by just speaking to them. So my meta sense is telling me, having played many, many, many years of D&D at this point, is the kid is using power word kill, which is a pretty high level spell. So I'm thinking from the standpoint, if I want to have a chance against him, I have to put the kid in a scenario where he can't see me, and I wouldn't be able to be targeted, and it would also have to be in a place where he wouldn't be able to do anything that's line of sight oriented. Thank you, Akram Artem. Appreciate the support. So my thought process was, I'm gonna build a death box. I don't know how many people have thought about this before, but I'm like, listen, the only thing I can think of to kill this kind of high-level character is to literally construct something so thick that no one would reasonably ever get out of it in time. And the idea behind the kill box is that I don't ever want to do anything that is role-related, because I think the character I'm fighting is potentially, like, ultra high level to, like, unmanageable god level of NPC. So I was like, if this character only has offensive magic, I actually have a chance to kill them, ironically. Because if they don't have utility spells, it is actually shockingly easy to kill characters at high level if they're based off of humanoids. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, the kill box. My thought process was, since I have a robot companion that doesn't breathe, why don't I try to force, or trick, or otherwise lure the kid to go into a at least 1 foot thick iron box? And the box has a very specific construction to it. One, it has a door that can only be opened from one side. That is a key criteria to making sure this works. Number two, it has technically a ceiling, but it's not like a flat cube. Think of it as more of like a... The word is eluding me at the moment, but think about breweries and distilleries, where you basically have all the grains and hops, and then all the liquid and or something else comes out through the top through like a pipe, yeah, silo essentially. But like it has like it has something you could pump into, is what I'm getting at. So my thought process is, why don't I just build a couple of things? Because I have unlimited time to set it up. So you got to think of it like Batman style. So I'm like, I have no powers, quote unquote. How do I kill something that can just kill me with offensive magic? So number one, break line of sight. So the character wouldn't be able to see in pure pitch black darkness. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter because they can't see through iron. So it's kind of like a twofold step just to make sure that it can't be targeted. Number two, if they tried to look outside... Ooh, a Jaya with hit. Oh, Jaya with low hit. Boo. Terrible Jaya. So on the off chance that they try to teleport to somewhere they can see, oops, there's nowhere they can see. That's not inside the iron box. So I'm like, that's this basic low-level magic cutoff, number one. Number two, if I'm able to create a device or have assistance from other players to create water, I could just drown the kid. Right? Like, I'm just like... You know, sometimes chat, just, you know, you can have like godlike beings, but like if they can't breathe underwater, what are they gonna do when you fill the death cage up with water? So you have to think of it this way. Iron takes a long time to get through. Like, a lot of its toughness is measured in like per inch. So having an entire foot of it means that they potentially have to deal upwards of 900 to like low 1000s amount of damage, and the iron wall resists damage. So you have to think that takes a long time to just get through, even with like really good offensive magic. Most people are not consistently churning out thousands and thousands of damage, especially not when it's resisted. So number one. Number two, I was thinking from the standpoint of all these other contraptions I would do to speed up the filling process. So they could be like literally other containers of water that it could just be funneled into the main silo / death box with a valve. Right? It's just that way, instead of it taking like minutes to fill, it takes more like 30 seconds or like 16 seconds. So, you know, if you're displacing all that water, potentially with gravity and all these other things, then Potentially, you might be in a really good position to take out the quote-unquote big bad without ever rolling anything, right? Like, the most you would have to roll is maybe a grapple check with the robot to try to keep the small demon child still, which sounds like that would be in my favor. If there's anything I was going to roll on, it would be that. And even if they kill the robot companion, it's fine. And even if water fills the chamber, it doesn't kill the robot companion. So I kind of had like a layered strategy going into it. Oh, they unarmed me. That's so annoying. So I kind of had a strategy going into it of this is what I'm going to do in order to deal with this child. If the child is not shown to have anything else. Oh, somebody got a banner right as I did kill count. That actually sucks. So, yeah, I spent like a good half hour, 40 minutes talking it out with people that are not in the game. And I'm thinking, like, what is, like, how many fail safes can you have? So I'm thinking, like literally, I'm, like, planning out, like, there's only going to be one entrance, and then I can block off the other tiles so that they can't see into the door unless they are in, like, a specific spot. So they have to be able to walk into it in order to see me properly. And, like, all these other things, I'm, like, planning it out to, like, the detail of like, well, I lure the kid by trying to play hide and seek. Like, I'm telling you, Chad, it was like really, really, really involved, terrible things I'm planning to do to this NPC. So I'm like, okay. So I said to myself, if the next time I'm in the game, I get denied very basic investigations, because last time I tried to do investigations and tried to prepare for an ambush, I got ambushed anyway, despite rolling well, and then they just all kind of went first and surprise attacked me, even though I knew they were coming. So I'm not happy about that, number one. But number two, I'm like, listen, it would be really funny if you'd spent all this time building up this big bad, and then we'd have to break out the drowning rules. Something about that just makes me smile. So, like, most people don't have, like, breathe underwater, you know, prepared. It's possible they could shapeshift. But the thing is that, like, their time spent in the chamber is unlimited. So it's like, I don't really care if they could temporarily transform. I could just play the waiting game. And the best part is, like, I don't even have to technically fill it with water either if I thought they were doing something. I could also just attempt to, you know, pour acid into it the old-fashioned way. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of backups. There's, like, a couple of backups you could have, just in case they're getting cute. They're like, oh, I transform into a shark or something in there, or whatever BS to try to live. So there's, you know, there's some backup plans that could happen. Checking my kill count real quick. But either way, I'm not on the side of letting this particular character live if I have a choice. So from the standpoint of that is the preface. So I went into the session kind of thinking, I really hope that combat resolves in a way that I can actually do something afterwards. However, preface out of the way, intro out of the way. When we arrived, the DM didn't really learn their mistake from last time. So there were 2 players that were not able to attend the last session. And so, for whatever reason, they decided to do their dream sequence while everybody was there again. So, it's another hour and a half of people just kind of messing around, and I guess the other players didn't mention to them what happened because they didn't seem to pick up on it right away. And I will shortcut that because I'm letting you know, chat, it was very boring. Like, it already was, like, the worst part of the last session. So it's like, I'm really shocked that he would do it again. I would have thought somebody had given him more feedback based off of our expressions and the fact that players literally got up and did other things. So, yeah, unfortunately, we had to sit through a part 2 of that for some reason. Ultimately, what they did in the dream paid no relevance to anything because, again, we're in the middle of combat. Nothing in the dream is stuff we didn't already know from any player perspective, except for the people that weren't there last session. And then to kind of top everything off, it's not like there were any stakes or anything, because everybody but those 2 players know how it ends, where it doesn't matter if you live or die, the dream will just end at some point. So it was just kind of like this, again, this kind of glorified combat between the two players. And I'm like, well, why would you do this? So for some reason, the DM, the lobby, I think I went to the wrong difficulty. So I think from the standpoint of the game itself, I just was disappointing to see that happen. Yeah, indeed. So again, like, we're in the middle of another combat and the DM decides to shoehorn in a flashback sequence with dreams that don't have any relevance to the plot or shed light on new things, where it's like that could have been an opportunity if they really wanted to do that to fix like plot holes or something like that, or like introduce something that would be useful for the players. But no, it was just the two characters fighting over another character that had died but didn't really die because it was all part of a dream sequence. So it was pointless. They didn't learn anything. And then what was awkward is that we then just transitioned into the other combat, but then those other players weren't able to participate in the battle for like 3 or 4 rounds. So even though they were the focus of the show for the first hour and a half, they too also were just kind of sitting around for another hour and a half. So I don't think there was like one set of players that was more like, we'll say, focused on in this session, but that's not in a positive way. So anyway, I guess I'll try to streamline a little bit of what happens here. So basically, the DM learns the hard way that I am really, really tanky. For those that are not aware, I was playing an Archivist in the previous sessions with a shield. And my AC is, I'm not going to say like 100% optimized, but like it's not like I neglected it. Like I'm not doing weird things like I'm getting married for plus AC bonuses and doing rituals or splashing other kinds of things here and there. No, none of that. It's more just like I took a shield, I'm taking good armor, I'm making sure I cap the max dex on armor. Like pretty standard stuff. I have an enchanted shield and that's one of the magic items I make. So like with all this combined, the DM attempts to attack me with a set of drow. So I finally learned what was attacking me from the previous session, by the way, in that session. So the DM very quickly, I think it's very disappointed and upset. I want to say he got pouty with me, which is very funny because he basically whiffed on every single strike versus me in one round of combat. And I did have to pop a shield spell, so it wasn't like 100% free. But from that standpoint, he started referring to the things that were fighting me as the Three Stooges because he just couldn't do damage to me anymore. I don't think he realized like how prepared I was for heavy combat, which, I mean, like, to be fair, it's not like it's a big surprise. I was told to bring a tanky character, and that's what I told them I would be bringing. So I'm not really sure what the DM thought I was doing. I don't know. Or I guess he's so used to the low AC of the party that he didn't think I would break 23. So essentially I'm just sitting there, hasted up. I have my magic shield, all my bonuses. I can shield spell on myself for like 50 or 30 AC total. And yeah, he very quickly realizes he can't really stop me from living unless he like rolls a crit or attacks me with spells, which is like fair counterplay. It's not like I'm completely invincible, but it was, I'm not gonna lie, kind of satisfying to see the DM like kind of look at me and I'm like, there's the sheet. Yeah, the Dango's like, this is fine, exactly. I'm like, what? This is actually just standard AC. I don't know what to tell you. This is what happens if you actually let me have magic items at level 12 or whatever we're at. Who would have thought? Who would have thought, Chad? If you're allowed to have magic armor, you have higher AC. Who would have thought? So he eventually just kind of gave up on fighting me after a couple of rounds, which I did think was funny. But I do think, in general, there was just a lot of looseness with combat. And it got to the point where it wasn't like everybody's turn, but it was enough in the first couple of rounds of combat where I'm like, I don't like to do it, but I had to pause the game a couple times because I'm like, no, that's not how that works. So I'll give you an example. And again, this weirdly also isn't the first time that this has happened, but the DM was trying to say to us, like, attack of opportunity is if I happen to enter your attack threat range, he gets a free attack on you. And I'm like, for people that play D&D, they feel like that is absolutely not a thing. I mean, I know I'm winning, but like, come on now. That's not a real thing. You are not a multi-space hitting creature. Get out of here. That's not a thing. So that's number one. So he tried getting free hits on me and a couple other party members with that. So I had to tell him no for like the second time in the campaign for some reason. That's not how that works. Another example where, like, again, that's more from like freshness of the players. I'm not going to blame the players for this. I mean, for some of them, I think it's literally their first time playing 5th. Yes, they did think attack opportunity happens in reverse. So they were trying to say, like, if somebody moved into range of like 3 monsters, they would get attacked 3 times, which is like, yeah, then no one would ever go into melee. There's the reason, like, you finish the thought experiment, and you're like, yeah, that's why they don't allow that, because that would just be such bull BS. But yes, that's what they thought. The other really big one was how sneak attack worked. So one of the big contention points was that if I did not say anything, this is how they would have made sneak attack work in 5th edition. You ready? So they were trying to say that for sneak attack, that sneak attack only applies if you're flanking, and they're saying it only applied once per round. And if you crit with sneak attack, you don't roll the sneak attack dice doubled. So, like, if I didn't say something, that is what would have happened to the rogue in our party. So I don't, it's like a rule confusion. I'm like, flanking's not really a thing in 5th edition. They were 3 for 3 in the wrong direction. I know. I'm like, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. I promise you it's not a thing. So I was just kind of like, I had to pause it because I'm like, that's, you know, like, I understand if like the newer players don't know every rule or facet of their character sheet, but like, I kind of feel like as a DM, you need to know like real class basics that are definitely always going to come up in combat. And sneak attack is exactly, you took the word right out of my mouth. Sneak attack is one of those fundamental abilities that if you're not playing a rogue, maybe you don't know what it does. But if you're the DM and you're the rogue player, you should probably know how that works. I'm just saying, like, it's just one of those things where you don't really want to stop the state of play to fix that. It should just be inherently accepted that this is how it works. And then I was hearing all sorts of weird numbers from one of the rogue players in terms of their attack points and stuff like that. So again, like, when I hear it, I'm just kind of like, there's no way that number is correct. Like, it's just like, I'm not playing the rogue, but I'm like comparing it to my artificer, and I'm like, there is no way I'm out damaging the rogue that has like a blade of speed or some nonsense. I'm like, no. So something is not adding correctly here. Pause. Yeah, I'm like, no way. No way should I out. Yeah, I was like, no way should I out damage. I'm like, something weird is happening here. I'm like, give me a moment. So yeah, it was just things like they forgot to add on their character sheet, like, the bonus enhancement of the weapon to hit and damage. So they were rolling like way lower than I was. Like, I heard them roll with like a +8 at level 12, and I'm like, no, hold on. It's like, I'm like, you still somehow managed to hit them, but we're gonna have a talk when you're done with your attack roll. It doesn't sound right to me. Your proficiency is 4, and your max stat, you've taken it. So I'm like, you're at 20 dex, but you're level 12. There's no way with a magic weapon it's not at least a 10. I don't believe you. Math didn't math correctly. So, you know, I'm trying my best to, like, again, support the players, and I'm trying not to interrupt the flow of play, but, like, losing out on... Oh, I got disarmed again. losing out on like a +5, or not +5, losing out on a 5%, 10% extra chance of hit really makes a difference on a character that is very attack-oriented. There we go, let me get that guy out of here. The difference between a person ever playing again or not? Yeah, so it's like a really drastically reduced rogue. And then the other thing too is that they were playing with the Bladed Speed, and then they didn't realize that they could use a bonus action to get extra attacks. And I'm like, dude, that's the whole point of the weapon. Please, you're killing me. Bladed Speed is broken on rogues. Oh my gosh. So there are so many things where I'm like, I'm just trying to let them live their best life. I'm not telling them how to play, but I'm fixing some of the numbers, right? Like, I'm not going to tell them that, you know, how to figure out attack priorities and stuff like that. I'm like, listen, we gotta take it a step at a time. We just gotta get them swinging at something that's in melee. That's probably good enough for now. But yeah, it's just one of those things where, as I said before, it's just a lot of things there. And it got to the point where, I think it was the second time that I did that, the DM called me a rules lawyer, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm really offended by that, but at the same time, it's like, I really do have to kind of stop things if it's, like, that impactful. Like, again, it's like the difference between, you know, the rogue only taking 2 attacks with dual weapons versus doing 3 attacks due to Blade of Speed or whatever it's called, and also applying sneak on every strike. Like, that's kind of a massive difference. Like, it's like the difference of just having like a level 6 character and a level 12. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would kind of prefer that they do their numbers correctly if the DM isn't going to do it correctly. And that's why that they're scaled like that, allegedly. Goodbye, God Battle. I wish God Battle was more useful with God Battle. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't think there were, like, too many other things that I had to go out of my way to correct. Those were, like, the massive ones. Just a complete fundamental misunderstanding at the table how sneak attack worked. And I'm not gonna lie, I also, because I don't play Rogue in 5th edition, nor do I DM 5th edition, so it took me a moment, and I had to, like, honestly think about it due to 5th edition's terrible wording, whether or not cunning action is a separate thing that you could take or counted as a use of the bonus actions. And I had to, like, really reread that, like, 4 times before I'm like, I think they're trying to, in a very clumsy way, tell you that one of your bonus actions around can be this, not that it gives you an extra bonus action. And that did take me a while to get to, I'm not gonna lie. I felt a little bad, because, like, it did come up for, like, whether or not, for example, Rip Timer. It did come up whether or not, for example, you could use the Blade of Speed and the Rogue's Cunning action to, like, dash, for example. So it had, like, a gameplay implication. But again, like, it's not my character. It's stuff that the DM should probably know. But it's like, I'm hearing it, and I'm like, I don't think so. Chat can fill in if I help the table there or hurt the table. I don't think you could do both. So, shoutouts to 5th edition being written poorly. Shoutouts, chat. I swear, I read that passage like 4 times, and I interpreted it like 2 ways. Like, every other read was a different interpretation. I was like, oh no. So terrible. Do another very hard. Uh-oh. Got a level 110 character here. Retract says, to be honest, I'm not sure on that one either, but I'm hitting clarifying the rules never a bad thing. Yeah, like, honestly, like, I had to basically just, like, double check. Dango says, hold on. Dango's coming. The Dango approacheth. We'll wait for Dango. So that was the one that I probably felt the least comfortable with, which, again, like, it's not my character, and it's not something I thought I would have to deal with at the table. So it's kind of one of those things where I just learn as you go kind of deal. So, let me think. Was there any other rules catastrophes on the way through this combat? No, I think that was most of them. So yeah, the DM got kind of pouty that he couldn't hit my character, and I'm like, I think he was attacking me with somewhere between like a +6, or not a +6, probably like a +7 to +10 on multiples of his creatures. I will say though, I am pretty sure, and chat can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know all the monster stats offhand. Nice Degotron getting some XP. Love to see it. Chat can correct me if I'm wrong. We fought a Drider, and that thing's AC was, like, disgustingly high. I don't feel like it was vanilla stats, because I went to power attack it at one point, and it had 23 AC, according to the DM. And it was to the point where I was like, geez, this thing is actually really obnoxious to hit. I don't think it's normally 23. And it wasn't described as having any enchantments or anything else on it, for clarity. So I know I went to power attack that thing and I hit it once. I literally, like, no joke, I think I rolled a 20, a 21, a 22, and a 23, and only the 23 hit. It was like, come on. I'm like, man, I only had like a +5 to hit. Like, how am I gonna hit this thing with this ability? Holy. So I just gave up on power attacking. I decided to power attack the Drow because I realized they were way easier. I think their AC was like 17 or 18, according to what I was able to hit. AKA a much more reasonable number for me to hit. Damn, another 5-hit Jaya. What a disappointment. What a shame, chat, when it rolls well but doesn't. So I felt like he was kind of customizing the monsters in a way to make them like extra annoying. And I'm not really sure why he touched them. I think at one point I was fighting the Drow creature, and it had like 90 HP, just like pretty significant. Like, wouldn't that put that at like level 8 minimum? It was like a D10 class. So I'm fighting like multiple level 8s and like a what felt like level boosted Drider? Question mark. I don't know how much HP the Drider had. I'm willing to say over 100 by quite a bit. I lost track after it survived taking 60 damage twice. I will put it that way. So I'm basically just like not really able to kill that thing in an effective manner because I don't have like a lot of direct damage capabilities versus the creature. I have great power attacks because I'm going I decided to take Crossbow Master, so I was able to kind of machine gun down the low AC targets. I think it's a good niche for me. Like, okay, if I can identify people that are low AC, I could blow them away. Otherwise, I could just be a very annoying tank and block passage for the other creatures. Slowly just whittle it down. You know, kind of use some arcane jolts to heal people, or if I crit, do extra damage there. It's like it's not like the craziest damage, but it's just kind of consistent. So essentially, I'm fighting off these four creatures, because it was 3 Drow and a Drider, and one of the Drow was a cleric, I think. Because it was Misty Stepping, but also described as being divine. So I'm guessing it was that. It's not a bard, I can put it that way. But it's one of those things where combat could have been really bad if the DM understood my character better. So I guess for better or for worse, I'm kind of glad he doesn't know what my weaknesses are on my character, which is repeated spell damage or fighting mixed types. Like, if all I do is fight spellcasters, they're kind of free, right? They have low AC generally, and I could just kind of nuke them with my burst damage. But if I'm fighting, like, really tanky targets, it's just kind of a slog. Like, I'm not doing anything. It's gonna take, like, 8 rounds to kill anything. I'd be lucky if I did more than, like, 30 damage in a round versus a tanky target. That would be with a generous max stat plus using a +2 weapon on a 1d6 roll. So that battle just kind of stalemated. But what the DM decided to do is that apparently the kid is just so powerful that he's able to kill multiple extremely high level boss monsters that were attacking the rest of the party in another spell use. Which, I don't know if it was power word kill, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm pretty sure, chat could correct me if I'm wrong, power word kill in 5th edition is extremely limited, unless you have 100 health or less, from my recollection. It shouldn't kill any targets. So to do an AoE insta-kill against multiple boss-level creatures that have 160 plus HP, presumably, I feel like some shenanigans were happening, question mark. I don't know of a spell that could do that. I don't think a saving throw was used either. Nice photon drop. Get rewarded for not playing ultimate, of course. Why play ultimate rare enemy when you could just farm enemies? All good. So yeah, he just kind of had the kids steal the show yet again in combat, which, I'm not gonna lie, I would feel pretty cheated if I were the people that were trying to fend off the attacks from the house. If you're, like, rolling all these attacks, and, like, you're starting to whittle them down now that the rogue has corrected sneak attack rolls, and the DM just kind of goes, nah, I'm just gonna kill, like, 5 people instantly and just end the encounter. And I'm like, oh. Right, chat? Because I'm like, listen, if he can insta-kill those things, there is no, like, as soon as that happened, I'm like, there is no way I could kill this kid anymore. If he could kill things with, like, 180 plus HP, presumably, or at least 130 plus, because again, if the common enemy that I'm fighting outside is at least 90 HP, and that was not the big bad that was fighting them in the house, and he still killed the big bad instantly, there is no way I could defeat this thing anymore. It has been elevated to unkillable NPC levels of power. So when I heard that, I did feel very disappointed. I spent time prepping how to kill this character. I thought we were playing within some kind of boundary of rules, but no. That was my mistake. I shouldn't have assumed that. It's just DMPC nonsense. So anyway, unfortunately, that was kind of most of the session. Because again, he kind of messed around with the dream sequence there, and his combat is not very smooth. I will give credit where credit is due, though, because I think he did realize that he had a lot of bad rulings. So I think at one point he did somewhere in the middle when we had the Barbarian, aka the Bard multi-class Barbarian, try to grapple, and then he was telling him some like absolute shenanigans for how Bard grapple works. He did make a joke, and he's like, no, I'm just kidding. And we all had a laugh. So I think disarming those moments with humor was actually, like, the one good thing that he did as, like, a DM. So, like, I'll give him that. Oh, man, really? The 55-hit Gladius? Oh, if that was on Jaya. Oh. Cat. Oh. What a disappointment. You would have been done, right? 65-hit Jaya? Why would you farm more? It's over. You got what you needed. You don't need more. Such a shame. So, yeah, I'll give credit where credit is due. I thought that was a kind of an interesting technique to disarm things. I always need more, says Rajak. Damn. I got murdered. But, yeah, just combat went kind of slow. So again, like, I think from my perspective, what I can do as a player to improve the session, again, I might have to just kind of brush up on every character going into the next session if I wanted to go a little faster. I didn't really want to, because I view that more as the realm of the DM, but if the DM is not handling it, I kind of don't want to be sitting there for like 40 minutes as they look around confused. So it was a little disappointing there. There was like a very brief amount of plot where essentially there was this very mysterious drow that worked as an agent of the 3 houses of the Underdark, which unfortunately does not have a lot of context for me because I kind of came midway through the campaign. So that, it didn't mean a lot to me, but maybe it means something to somebody else if he's running it off a module. And you're saying like all these things like, will you kill the child or let it live? And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, there is no way we can kill this kid. Even if we wanted to. I'm like, listen, if he could just do that, it's over. Such a shame. So unfortunately, the child murder plans are off for now. I think the DM thinks that we're infatuated with the kid, but honestly, he just made the kid too powerful. I don't think he understands how unfair it is to have somehow, in some world, that having a 180 plus thing. Ooh, 45 hit of ray gun, nice. Yeah, that having the ability to one-shot 130, 180 plus HP enemy might be a little unfair and not winnable for people that are not max level. Oh, I'm slash lobbying, I'm not dealing with this. Bye. Bye. Like, no, thank you. Let's try, though. Why we can make it there, though. So, I think for the most part, I think he wanted us to make an actual story choice there, but he kind of forced the party's hand by just making it, like, seem like actual character suicide. Like, it in no way did it seem reasonable that we could ever beat this thing in a fight. I think it was a bit unfortunate. Wrong button, rip Dango. Went to change bank. Deleted himself. So, yeah, that was about it. Oh, I will say though, I did try to improve a little bit, aside from talking like just purely mechanics at the table, because it was very much needed. I did try to do a little trash talk as we were fighting some of the basic enemies. So I tried to at least give a little bit of character personality in combat, because my turns are very quick. So, like, to give context, chat, like, when the rogues are trying to decide how to attack, it's like a 10-minute endeavor of how they're gonna move. Which, I'm not gonna lie, that is a big personal pet peeve of mine. I don't like it when people take that long on their turn. I understand if they're spellcasters, and if they're talking it out loud, I'm okay with it. But if you're playing like a fighter or a rogue, I'm sorry, you're not that complicated. Yeah, exactly. The point is to play in your turn during other people's turns. So I will make a comment to the other players, just kind of like tighten it up a little bit. I don't need you to be like pro level players, quote unquote, but like, we really need to not be, like, sidebar conversationing and then being lost when it's your turn. I think that's just the bare minimum. I don't think that's an unacceptable thing to ask. Like, once you know what you're doing, you can have all the conversations in the world. Like, I can hold a conversation with them at the table, but the thing is I'm not really thinking about it with Parameter. We'll slash lobby. Oh. Yeah, we might be stuck here. I'm gonna slash lobby with the Parameter. Where it's like, you know, as I said before, like, my turn ended up being a lot of, like, opening up the D&D manual, trying to figure out basic features of their classes. Like, that's the stuff that they should be doing. And again, like, some of it is, like, they're newer to it, so it's, like, it's kind of like the double-edged sword. Like, do you want new players to be, like, 100% responsible for their characters if they don't know how it goes? Kind of deals. Like, they need to have a basic understanding, yes, but they're not going to be able to, like, instantly realize something is wrong if the DM says something. We'll give Parameter another minute or two here. So it's like one of those things where I'm controlling two characters. I'll just watch this in Parameter. Sure thing. So it's one of those things where I do think from the standpoint of playing two characters, my turn is like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes total. And that's with adding in dialogue during my turn. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm contemplating anything. I'm doing the rolls. I'm confirming the results. I give like a nice like 15-20 second trash talk while I'm rolling. So that way I'm kind of optimizing my time usage. Like I have it down to a science. I'm like, listen, while I'm rolling and numbers are being checked by the DM, I'm just gonna go off while I can. So, you know, while I'm, you know, I could say like, you know, I reload my hand crossbow, point it at the drow, and go, you're next. And I unload the shots, and then when he dies, he goes, don't worry, you'll be joining him soon. You know, like, you can throw in, like, just little things like that, or, huh, I thought you were tougher than that, and stuff like that. You can throw in the little jabs here and there. You can have some pre-prepared lines, of course, if you're not good at improv. Yeah, dead already, dead exactly. Already? NPC filler dialogue, pretty much. So it's like, yeah, and if they respond, and if they say something, I'll respond to it. So, you know, I did have, like, a nice little back and forth, which I will say, I did enjoy combat a lot more when I got to do the back and forth a little bit. It's mostly just trash talk. The other person's like, ah, oh, you'll be taken to the Underdark and made a slave for our kingdom, blah, blah, blah. I said, huh, you'd have to hit me first. Whenever he whiffs the blow. Stuff like that. Nice Jaya. So I think turns, if combat is going to be longer, that's how turns should be spent. Also, honestly, I was thinking from an experiment as a player, and maybe I'll get the chat feedback on this one, to keep the people more engaged during my turns. I mean, they are very fast, don't get me wrong. I was thinking of just having everybody at the table roll my damage for me. I'm one of those players that actually just does not care about rolling dice, which is probably blasphemy in D&D, to be honest, but I'm one of those people where I'm like, if I go into a session and never pick up a dice, I'm okay with it, as long as I'm still participating in some fashion. Like, I'm good. So I'm thinking of maybe just going like, yeah, why don't you guys be my damage dice? To also force them to pay attention, especially if their turn is after mine. But like, come on, everybody, give me a d6. Because I basically make 4 attacks with haste, or I think 3, with just crossbow master. It'd be fun getting people involved. Oh, that's the second luck material, nice. I will say, compared to last time, I guess I'll give him credit that he didn't make us roll initiative twice. Yes, that was a thing, and yes, that did happen last time. For those that missed it last time. Where we literally had a round of combat, and then he rolled again for some reason. I will say I was also kind of shocked he still had the initiative from the last time we played. I thought for sure he would have forgotten to write it down or something like that. So I guess I'll give extra credit there. He didn't lose the initiative in between like a 3-week hiatus, because we just do like a monthly session. A little round of applause there. But I will say, as I said before, descriptions from his combat and stuff like that are pretty sparse. Like, I do feel like I almost have to be, like, interrogative, because he's not telling me what's happening. So I'll give you an example of that, if chat doesn't follow what I'm talking about. So, he'll have a spellcaster attacking me, right? He'll just say, like, does a 26 hit you? And I'll be like, well, what did you attack me with? I'm like, is it a spell? Is it an arrow? I have resistances. You kind of have to tell me what's happening here. Or, like, he'll take his, like, spellcaster character, and then he'll move him, like, 120 feet. And I'm like, excuse me? I did say that at the table at one point. He just moves him, like, you think of a battle map. If every tile is 5 feet, I'm like, what? You gotta describe how you just moved 120 feet? Like, what the heck is this? Excuse me. You gotta say, like, and then he waves his hand and he appears to step into a portal. Like, you gotta tell something, even if you're not gonna, like, mechanically describe what the spell is. Right? Like, you don't have to say, like, oh, he casts 3rd level fireball. Like, you don't have to say that, but, like, you just gotta give me an indicator something's happening. Otherwise, I'm like, okay, just... I mean, then I, too, would, like, just slide 120 feet to combat. Right, chat? Just, like, woo! Just, like, I wish. Ah, I keep getting disarmed. That's actually really annoying, because I'm trying to build kill count, causing me to become more desynced. So sad. So yeah, that happened in that last session. I know, I slide across the room all the time. I will say though, I did take to heart a lot of the lessons from our previous D&D story times. I did start a session on my own, not of D&D, I'm not interested in D&D, but of Pathfinder. So I was very happy for the most part with how it turned out. Not the most excited about having some technical issues in the beginning, but I think once the games got started, it was fine. I think that is the blessing and the curse of doing an online game versus the in-person that I'm doing in those monthly sessions. I don't have to worry about weird connections or people not being set up properly and stuff like that. Making sure their sheets are imported, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I don't know if he'll end up asking us to level. I hope he doesn't. I hope we stay level 12 for a little bit. I feel like he also has a really bad habit of just kind of like power leveling us. Like, I don't know if he's trying to do like the equivalency of like milestone based stuff, but I've only been in like 5 sessions and I think I've leveled 3 times already. And I can tell you I am not putting in the work that I feel like I should be put into in order to get those levels. Just to be clear about that. I feel like, I'm gonna say it like cheapens the experience, but it just kind of feels hard to learn your character if they're literally different every time you go to play them. Because getting like next level spells and then getting new abilities can really throw off balance and choices. Like, it's very different in terms of playstyle. If you think you're going to be, like, level 5 for, like, 5 or 6 sessions, and you're thinking more about survivability versus, oh, in, like, 3 sessions I'll be, like, mid-levels, and none of these things matter. Do you know what I mean? It's, like, a very different experience. Also, Chad, I'd just like to point out I officially have gotten a photon drop at the once per hour mark, so we're on pace for the goal for basically 3 PDs for 3 hours, roughly. So good to see we're on pace, even with the intro counting towards that. So silly. Chad, why do we play Ultimate? I have a real question for you. Maybe very hard mode is the life. Maybe we've just been viewing PSO the wrong way this whole time. It's just misunderstood, Chad. So, unfortunately, as I said before, most of it just ended up being kind of combat stuff. I'm trying to think if there was anything else weird that happened. I will say at one point, though, once the rogue started to do damage properly, I think the rogue did like 112 damage or something to a single target. I'm like, man, rogue is just on a completely different plane of damage. I could never hope to touch those numbers. You have to think of it this way. He's rolling 66 sneak, and he crit at one point. So he rolled, I think, 24 d6 because all 3 strikes hit somebody. Let alone whatever his weapon was. I don't remember if it was a d6 or a d8. I don't know enough about his sheet offhand to tell you. But either way, it's just kind of like, okay. Right, Chad? Just like, okay. It's just a little bit of damage. So that's fine. I'm glad people are finding their roles within the game. But I don't know what will happen next session, to be honest. I did try to, like, at least plan some things out, but then, like, we had an NPC just kind of tell us everything that I had started figuring out, which I will say is very annoying. I think this is now the 3rd time where I actually genuinely spent time to try to figure out what is happening in the plot. Not like, oh, you're not paying attention, you don't know. And I'm like, I feel like I've been giving so little to go on. I'm just trying to think of, like, how anything that has been talked about is connected. And chat knows how I usually piece together mysteries very quickly. Like, poor RPGs try their best to, like, go like, oh, what a surprise! And I'm like, no, it's really not for me. I'm sorry, I've seen this before. Hobby time. We'll do one more run. I'm almost done with story time, then we'll switch into normal D&D. Or not D&D, we'll switch into normal Pathfinder stuff. So, from the standpoint of the story, I was genuinely trying to picture, like, who would know who in the story, what their relationship to each other was, and motive. So, like, it really was, like, trying to treat it like a mystery game, where I'm trying to figure out, like, what are the plot motivations of, you know, these 10 or so NPCs that have been introduced. And, like, I finally figured out what is a potential connection, and then one of the NPCs just tells us. I'm like, really? I'm like, man, I spent, like, 25 minutes right before the session, like, relaying, like, my theory versus somebody else's theory, and we're having a back and forth. And we spent, like, another 15 minutes trying to, like, search through our notes to make sure we didn't miss anything, and then we corrected our theories. And that was actually kind of fun for me. I will say that was probably, like, the second time I had fun. But it wasn't from what the DM was doing, specifically. I was just kind of like, oh, somebody else is also trying to figure it out. And the mustache salesman the man has gotten. Chat saying something. Curly some mustaches. It's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, where I'm like, how would these NPCs realistically know where we were? Like, are they working for this person or this person? Is there a way we can test them? So, like, there was all these things where, like, I was spoken to in a... I'll give an example. I was spoken to in a language that I couldn't identify. And I'm gonna let you know, as a high-int character that is a sage, I know basically every language. So I'm like, there's only so many realistic things they could be speaking that I don't understand, to the point that I narrowed it down with literally zero description of what the NPCs that were fighting me were, other than the Drider. And I'm like, you know what? They're probably speaking Underdark, because I know every other basic language, and I can't think of anything else that would make sense for what these things have. So I'm like, okay, my character would be able to tell you, you being the barbarian in the party, I'm like, okay, I would be able to use my intellect to recall what the words were. So even if I don't know the meaning, I could repeat them back to somebody that knows more languages or is comprehend languages, of which the bard both knew Underdark and had it. So we kind of had a checkmate there. So I'm like, so if we hear those terms, I wonder if I can say them to somebody we suspect is a... opposite of Aesmir. What is the opposite of that? Tiefling? No, maybe? I don't know. I think he's a demonic one. Getting a phone call. But either way, there's a character we suspect that is working with the Underdark. So I was like, what if I actually just start speaking Underdark to them? Can I get them to slip? So we're talking about how, like, potentially when we're finally given actions in the game, that we're going to try to isolate the NPC that we think is working with the Underdark by repeating some of the phrases to see how they react, to kind of test the waters. And then just, like, while we're distracting them, so we can approach it from the social angle, that while we have him distracted, we can have our rogues who are not as, like, charismatic in nature go in and try to steal and or check for any orders that might have been delivered. Because we know that there has to be some kind of communication method between the Underdark and him. So if it's even something like a patrol schedule or anything that could tell us where this NPC is going at certain times, and potentially use it to tail him for the day. Or if there's literally a letter that is being written between them, we would be able to potentially copy it or sleight of hand it away from him. Or potentially use it to fake orders. So if we could figure out the name of the person that he's reporting to, we could try to duplicate it. So, like, those are the kinds of conversations I'm having between games. So I want chat to know, like, when I'm trying to pay attention to stuff, I take it very seriously. Also, what happened to my controls? Hello? Ephinea, please. Ephinea, please. Thank you. What was that? That was weird. Anyway. Controller scare aside. Those are the kinds of things that kind of get me interested, where, like, none of that involves roles, but it's just kind of thinking about how to, like, entrap NPCs or how to interact with the plot. So I just want chat to be clear. It's not just, like, me complaining. Like, I'm genuinely trying to kind of come back into the plot and interact with it in a fun way and involve multiple party members. Like, that's ultimately what I want to get out of it. I'm not expecting it to be, like, a perfect experience. But at the same time, it's like I really need combat from the DM to tighten up. It is just, like, so loose And it is mostly only in the detriment of the party. It's not been loose where it's like, oh, everybody's doing these crazy things. It's like, no, there's just weird, like, 3rd edition isms being slipped in, and or weird things being requested whenever it seems like we're doing too well in combat. So it's like, it's hard to interpret if that is, like, on purpose, or if it's spiteful. I would hope it isn't spiteful. But honestly, it's kind of hard to tell with that DM. It's genuinely kind of hard to tell. So they're very much focused on, like, their big movie scene kind of logic. But I think, like, the true strength of D&D is being able to just kind of roll with things. Like, I was kind of hoping he would be more excited to lay down, like, a trail of clues that the players could follow. Like, we have footprints that seem to lead to a location that mysteriously disappear, and that might lead to us finding a secret door, or we might find, like, something else left behind by another NPC to designate that they had been meeting somebody else there, and we could have used that to go, like, oh, isn't that, like, the Duke's ring? And I'm like, oh, I wonder why that's here. And we kind of, you know, to fuel the intrigue. Those kind of things I do like a lot, and I feel like, unfortunately, in this game in particular, I don't feel like anybody has been rewarded for playing smart. I feel like a lot of the enemies are just kind of instant anti-caster, and or in, like, perfect formations to punish everything always, which is not, I think, how you should play D&D, to be honest with you. It is what it is. I'm just trying to reflect through. At the very least, playing smart should earn inspiration. Yeah, it's like, and it's one of those things too where, like, I can't show, like, that I am, like, genuinely trying to follow the story and, like, trying to, like, go, like, okay, we could go here, and I'm like, I don't know what it is that's attacking us because we didn't get a description in the last session, but it's riders, so I could assume, you know, they're in some, like, cave kind of thing, or they're in the Underdark. So I'm like, what do we know that it potentially has a portal between the two places? Do we know of any other things that are shady? Do we think there's any NPCs that would be luring them to us? How do you think it is that they're coming to, you know, find us? Like, I'm going through, like, the standard sets of questions that you should be asking as, like, a player in that kind of game. But as I said before, I feel like a lot of it is just, like, he really wants to ambush us, and he doesn't like the fact that people are on to him being very unsubtle. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I've just played a lot of media. And that's why I wanted to make sure, like, when I go to host Pathfinder stuff in particular, that I try to give the players a lot of clues. Like, I'll give a counter example. In preparation for Pathfinder, I told myself, every NPC that they should talk to in this first session should give a minimum of 3 plot-related clues. They might not seem like they're clues. They might not all be related to the same source of information, but all of them together paint a big picture. Right? So, like, I'm trying... It's a little hard to talk about it in detail, because some of the people that watch the stream are actually in that game. But I'll try to give an example that the players have 100% figured out, because it's been in the game at this point already. So, for example, there is a chef that is extraordinarily paranoid, and he is convinced that the train that they are on is haunted. And the things that he observes, if you realize what he's actually talking about and mistaking for ghosts, are the movements of a couple of characters that have snuck onto the train. So, like, you could take his story literally and potentially observe it from that standpoint and slowly piece together what certain characters were doing when. So even if that character is not specifically knowledgeable of what it is that he has witnessed, and there's a misinterpretation from, like, an unreliable narrative standpoint, you as the player now have something to go on and something to investigate. So that's an example of one clue of things that they could give. And some of it has to do with, like, actions they might be doing at, like, certain times, as I have, like, this larger plan for them while they're on the train before a certain incident happens that they may or may not be able to intervene on. Question mark. It really is just up to them on how quickly they follow the plot. So we'll see where it goes there. I'm willing to go with the blows, as it were. But I wanted to make sure that, as I said before, that no matter what the PCs decided to do, whether they chose not to interact with certain characters, whether they decide to simply witness versus talk to them, I made sure there was at least one clue of kind of like each category. So if they spend more time with certain characters, they'll get more clues, but it might not necessarily be towards something they don't already know. But it's one of those things where I want the players to feel rewarded. So like there's a big theory, for example, that and I won't confirm or deny it because we're too early in the campaign, but there's a big theory going on right now that there is a elf dressed in green who's able to down a very large amount of alcohol without seeming to be affected, and is incredibly snobbish, that it is secretly a dragon in disguise. So, like, those are the things, like, if you don't give players clues or try to mess with the players to some extent, that they will not naturally go to those kinds of conclusions. Do you know what I mean? So we should reward them either for being baited or for trying to figure things out, right? Like, it's just more interesting to me to see how other players react to it. And I feel like genuinely, I want to see the players succeed in a lot of these kinds of, like, characterizations to figure out who is who they say they are or what is actually happening in the place that they're in, without necessarily having to be like, oh, did you hear this guy? I heard he has a tail, or like something. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's ways you could kind of like hint at things, or like, oh, you know, I saw this part, like, oh, I heard this guy transforms or something. Like, that's so boring. We're just like, no. It's more fun to do different viewpoints. And as I said before, this, or actually, I don't think I've said this before. You know, it's a campaign where there's like tanukis and stuff that can shapeshift, for example, just to add more clarity to what I was saying before. Where it's more fun to kind of think about what is real and what isn't. Yeah, I heard this guy's relevant to the plot. And exactly, it's just kind of like one of those things where I could just build up a world without having to be like ultra direct about it. So it's kind of fun that they're paranoid about certain characters, and I don't have to say if it's true, and it doesn't have to be true. But you know what's also funny? I get to say as the DM, if I like their theory enough, maybe I'll just make it true because it's funny. You know what I mean, chat? Like, I'm willing to do the because it's funny line in Pathfinder. I'd be like, yeah, why not? I'm like, yeah, we should be good. We'll do one more. So it's just one of those things where, you know, I'm kind of hoping that by a combination of respecting character backgrounds, some lore, and some other basic details, that everybody can feel involved. So my own personal takeaway is I never want to feel like a player doesn't really get to do too much when they play the game. So I want to make sure that I don't do like an hour-long dream sequence between just two people. Like that's my takeaway from that particular session. That'll be the personal notes. And I feel like when I was handling that kind of game in Pathfinder, conversely, I made sure to spend no more than, I think, 5 to 10 minutes on a player action that is not combat related, to give them like a little taste of something, a little tease of information, or maybe some physical details of something that they may or may not think is relevant. No worries, retract. And then make sure the next players are like, okay, so I'm going to be like, okay, so make your roll, figure out your result, and while you do that, we're going to do a quick update on this person. Okay, so now that we did that update, this person can roll for that next check, and we'll leave them in suspense. So I feel like that was kind of a fun format, at least it was for me, where I got other players doing stuff and thinking about what they want to say in response to, like, important plot points brought up by the NPCs, while letting other players do things. So I kind of did the combat version of, or the non-combat version of that, of figure out what you're going to say, and give the players that are maybe not as, like, improv heavy, I will say, is their strengths, a minute or two to think without it being like awkward silence. So, you know, I'm trying to play to like the character strengths. And oh, look, chat, a rare Lily. Goodbye, Nor Lily. So sad. Shake your head, chat. We got both Love Rappy and Rare Lily in an hour. What nonsense. Anything else I really have to say in regards to combat or anything else? Yeah. Rare enemy week better run very hard. It's so true. So true, Chad. No, sadly, I think that did cover pretty much all of story time. So we'll play out to the end of this quest. If I think of something between now and the end of the quest, I'll add it in. But as I said before, it was not like a good look to kind of repeat the same issues from last time, and it was pretty much universally agreed in the group that we just said, like, it was not good. Like, it's one of those things where the idea is interesting, but there's better ways to do it. So, like, if we had to be constructive with our criticism and feedback, both to the DM and also to, like, general people that are looking how to do that kind of thing, those individual sessions where players get to figure out where something is a dream or not are perfect things to do as one-offs between the actual session. So every player would be able to retell the events or try to figure out if there's some greater meaning between all the dreams, or if the DM is just messing with you. And just give the players a half hour, 45 minutes of just talking to themselves to figure out if there's any useful clues, or figure out potentially the sources and stuff like that. So, like, you could do almost literally the same things where everybody has a different vision telling them to do something, and I actually don't think that's a bad idea from a plot perspective. It's just that if you're playing with, like, 4+ people, which in our case, we have, like, a group of 6, probably don't have one character go on a solo adventure for at least 45 minutes. I mean, you would think you wouldn't have to give that advice, but I sat through it, so... question mark? Right? Like, I some people just don't have that common sense, I guess. I don't know. So, unfortunately, I think one of the things that, as I said before, because I realized that it's basically impossible to kill this kid, that we've basically given up on the plan on killing the kid at this point. Just remember. Oh no. So if you see a dumb rule somewhere, there's a reason for it, true. But there's all those warning labels on different things. You're like, why would you stick a hand into a blender? And you're like, oh wait. People would do that. Not would have, yeah, pretty much. I think my favorite one was, I think it was on the Wii, where it was like the Wiimote smacking somebody in the face. If chat can find that image, that one is really funny in the warning sections. What you get for aggressive Wiimoting, chat. Goodbye, enemies. I don't know. I'm not really sure where they're going with the plot from the DM perspective, because again, like, we can't kill this character. I don't know why he seems like he's like, oh, you guys got to make a choice, and I'm like, we kind of can't. This character's way too overtuned. Like, there's no possible way we could defeat this. It's one thing if they cast, like, a fireball, right? It's like the difference between if they just did some damage to something, like they did a fire move. Yeah, you're not gonna believe this. It's one thing if they just did, like, a fireball equivalency, but, like, the fact that they're basically just instant killing boss level characters is, yeah, it's the difference between them using, like, 9th level spells and 6th level spells. I'd be like, yeah, we could probably beat a character using 5th and 6th level spells. I think that would be somewhat realistic for us to achieve. Somebody that just seems to auto-cast it? No, there's no way. There's no way we could defeat that. It just doesn't make any sense. So I think that kind of, like, super wacky cinematic stuff also took away choices, which I don't think he meant to do, as I said before. He gave me the personal opinion that he wanted us to choose. But about casting Wish at 5th level, I'm not going to be surprised if the kid can use Wish. Like, you joke about that, I honestly feel like he would Wish so that the character wouldn't die. And that's kind of the problem, where I'm like, I don't know what other spell could AoE kill 4+ enemies with 130+ health. I can't name a single spell that could do that. If this is just something he throws out there, I'm like, yeah. I don't think you could realistically beat that. GG. Get outplayed, I guess. Uses Wish Upon a Star. It's like Wish but 5th level. True. I mean, I feel like if I tried to do the murder box plan, for example, it would just be like, and then he just destroys the box instantly. Right? Like, I don't even think there would be a roll. I think he would legit auto-escape, and it would just feel so unsatisfying. So unfortunate. So, yeah, that's another thing, too. If you're gonna introduce, like, strong characters, like, the party may or may not challenge it, but if you do actually want the party to challenge it, don't make it seem actually impossible. Yeah, creates door and walks through. I mean, you're joking about that, but, like, I honestly think that would happen. Like, I feel like he would just literally reshape and bend the walls in 6 seconds and auto-escape. Or, like, transform it as something that's, like, large, and it would just auto-break the box because DM says so. And there's no rolls, it just happens. So it's like, if I get that feeling as a player, I don't feel like I'm going to be rewarded for any kind of creativity. DM, so why'd you trap yourself in the box? Yeah. Pretty much. So, it's just kind of unfortunate. That is kind of the downside. I guess I could say that as like a point to other not other players, other DMs. If you go like really far off the rules, it could be really, really, really off-putting to people that are trying to gauge whether they could realistically defeat something or not. So if you're just playing like anything goes Wild West with certain characters, like it doesn't really encourage players to deal with it because it's like, yeah, this is so far above the pay grade. And again, like, maybe that makes sense if you're doing, like, a horror story thing where you're not supposed to fight the monsters. And, like, players agree to that kind of thing. Maybe in that environment it could make sense. But in, like, standard 5th edition D&D, you don't want to be like, oh, my character's basically on the power of a Tarrasque. You're like, excuse me? And you just die. Nothing really very exciting about that. Goodbye, Del Death. Get melted. That's a bit unfortunate. It kind of ended up that way. I don't know what I would do to really improve the campaign from where it's at. Nothing much is... As I said before, very little happened plot-wise. So sadly, we don't have a long session to kind of talk about it. I almost thought that was another photon drop. I'm not going to lie to you. I had to actually physically check my item drop list. Because when I'm in the technique menu, I can't see it. Nice Jayas. But I don't know. I guess I'm not one for, like, big cinematic events. I do like having another... I mean, I do like having things pre-planned. Don't get me wrong. I'm definitely a player that does better if I write out plot details or, like, descriptions ahead of time to kind of improve the flow of gameplay. But at the same time, like, I'm also the same kind of DM style where if something unexpected happens, I'm not going to spend, like, 20 minutes trying to find a character sheet. I'm going to be like, yeah, this is close enough. Just kind of go with it. I think that's also why I enjoy systems that aren't as tight with things like templates. I was gonna say, something was stopping me from moving there, so I just took a swing. Well, I guess your mileage will vary. But I felt, for me personally, I felt like I ended up role-playing a lot of the characters better by just making sure, like, all of their physical descriptions were in a Google document, in a tab, specifically for that session. And if I had planned out any additional encounters or potential encounters, I would literally put them in the tabs for those sessions, because I don't usually run, like, super long campaigns. I don't usually do, like, 20-plus ones. So for one-shots, I'm actually more likely to split it up between, like, literally a social tab versus a combat tab. But for, like, longer campaigns, if they're mostly location-based, I'll just make a tab per location. Since that's generally how at least that's how I design things. But anyway, chat, I think we are at the end of the D&D talks. I'm gonna go ahead and slash lobby. We'll do one check on the kill count, and we'll switch over to other things. So yeah, moral of the story is, chat, just don't build a super overpowered character and expect us to defeat it. Don't interrupt combat by just letting him kill, like, all the big bads by himself, because he's just so good. TM. No worries, Retract. Thank you for sticking around for a bit. And I guess for this point, we'll say goodbye to YouTube, as we'll let this be its own little segment. So thank you for watching, and I guess see you in the second part sometime soon.